Sue and Craig have equity in their home, plus some savings in the bank. They decided to buy a second property as a tenanted investment. They got advice from Toowoomba's Edge Lending, because Edge Lending are the experts in borrowing to buy investment property.
Hey everybody, Scott from Edge Specialist Advice Network. I hope you're all well. Hey, today we're going to have another look at one of our economic illustrations from Visual Capitalist. Now, we love working with these guys. If you haven't seen what they do, it's amazing. They put into basically a one-page diagram all sorts of economic information about countries, and it gives us a real good indication, a real good understanding of what is the information or what is the trend in relation to something in the world. So let's have a look at what we're looking at today. Today we're looking at which countries hold the most gold. All right, and so these are actually the central bank reserves as of 2024. Let's have a bit of a look at them. So this is per ton, and you can see that US has been the standout and has been the standout for a long time, and really that's from the end of World War II. Basically all the gold fled to the US. That was citizenry gold, like retail gold, if you, for want of a better word, and also everyone else who was fighting a war. So London and Europe and other countries had to buy stuff, weapons from the US. They had to borrow money from the US, and they had to pay them back in gold, effectively. So that's why that the US is still stated as being number one. Now there is some contention about whether the US has the gold, as in, like, there was a call for an audit of Fort Knox a long time ago. It never happened. We sort of, hey, the government said, look, we're going to do it. Elon Musk was saying, hey, we're going to have a look at it. We really want to do this. Let's get an audit the reserve of gold. Let's audit Fort Knox, and it never happened. And so there's a lot of theories out there. One of them is that there was no gold there. Somebody's stolen it, perhaps, or it's been lent out to other people, other countries, so that they could then on-lend it and make some money and have this sort of daisy chain of on-lends and on-lends and on-lends, and what they call rehypothecating, as in lending a bar of gold out 10 times to banks to use as securities so they can make up money in thin air and lend it to you for a car loan or a home loan or a business. Okay, that's kind of the theory there. My own personal opinion is I think that every ounce of gold is probably there. I actually believe there's more gold. I actually believe there's a lot more gold in there. And so you would say, Scott, well, why wouldn't they say that we've got a lot more gold? The US's financial situation looks really bad. They're at about $38 trillion worth of debt, and it's just ridiculous. And the gold that they've got sitting in Fort Knox, they've got it noted as $42 an ounce, and they're only saying it's 8,000 ton of gold. So I'm not sure how many ounces that is. It's too hard for me to work out. But I actually think there's more gold in there. And you have to remember that in the 90s and the early 2000s, the US went to war with a lot of countries. Libya, Qatar, I think there was Qatar, they're in there, or Iraq, Afghanistan. Those countries' gold went missing somewhere. Then you can blame it on the army, and you can say they each officer took some gold. I don't think so. I think it got repatriated back to the US. Also, we do know that about 600 tons of gold came back from the Vatican. So the US called in their gold from the Vatican a while back. That was back they started doing that in 2019. So planes started getting their gold back. And also they've taken their gold out of London. So it's been interesting to watch the flow of gold back to the US, but the figure of 8,000 tons has never changed. So I think it's actually way more. The countries that have been accumulating the most in 2024. So this is what we want to look at, is the trend and why. Why gold? Why now? Great book by E.B. Tucker. But this is the trend that we're actually interested in, not who's got the most gold. So I don't think those figures are right at all. But the trend is correct in a fact that because people can see movements out of gold exchanges. Look at China down here. China has accumulated the most gold in the last 5 years, from 2019 to 2024. And that's really accelerated in 2022 when the US stole Russia's money, $300 billion, as a spanking for crossing the border in their special military operation into the Donbass. And you can see, so look, let's have a look at the people or the countries who have been accumulating the most. So these are the top 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? China, big leading BRICS nation. India, leading BRICS nation. Poland, EU nation is interesting, EU nation, but really close to Russia here. They are probably expecting to have a real issue with solvency and the EU solvency in the future. Turkey sort of sits on the fence with the EU. You know, it's the east and the west. Singapore, I would call that the Switzerland of Asia. Japan, interesting, proxy for the US, really a subservient nation to the US, has been ever since they dropped 2 nuclear bombs on to citizen cities. They weren't military sites; they were citizen cities, and ever since then, Japan has just done what they're told. Thailand has applied to join the BRICS. Interesting. Hungary, even though it's part of the EU, Hungary has really been outspoken against the EU and has been quite fence sitting with Russia as well. So they will probably want to trade with the BRICS nations. Qatar, okay, English proxy. Interesting that they've started accumulating gold too. They can see the writing on the wall. And Iraq. Iraq will probably be one of the BRICS members, although Iran is one of the big members in the BRICS nations. So why would these countries be accumulating gold? And they've been accumulating gold at a really rapid rate. One of the theories is, or one of the easy explanations is, because the BRICS nations have said they're going to do this, is that what they want to trade in their own currencies. And when they have imbalances, let's say that one country ends up with a heap of yen because they've sold all their coal to them and they haven't bought anything back in China. They've got all this yen. Well, they go, hey, look, we've got heaps of yen, and yes, we're going to buy some stuff off you, some robots, some cars, or anything, but we're going to have some yen left over, and we don't want to put it in the bank. What can we do to settle up every 5 years? Oh, okay, we've got this much. Okay, we're going to exchange it for gold. You sit the gold in your gold exchange, and then next time we need to settle up, we'll do that in gold that time as well. Instead of the old system, which was, hey, we used to have to turn it all into US debt promises called bonds. That's what really a bond is. US number one asset class is a promise of repayment on a debt promise, an IOU from the US government. So that system's changing because countries can't trust that the US won't just steal the money, because that's what they did to Russia, right? So let's have a look down here at some of the other countries. Let's have a look at some of the countries that have got really small amounts. Let's have a look at Australia. All right, I'm from Australia, so most of you are from Australia. Not all of you, but most of you from Australia. We're supposed to have 71 tons. I've seen an article it's probably 2 months old, that says, hey, we lent 100% of our gold bullion to London for them to look after. We actually leased it to them. We're going to get like 2% or 3% or something, and London will keep it safe for us. And then, so we lent it to London so that they can use it as collateral to do loans and lending things out, right? So let's hope we can always get our gold back. At some stage, the countries that have no gold will have nothing to sell on a trade setup except their land, except their bridges, except their ports, except their resources in the ground, so mining promises and tenements. If you end up having too much of a deficit, a trade deficit, and they say, hey, it's time to settle up in gold. Oh, we don't have any gold. Here's the story. We leased it to London, but they defaulted and we never got our gold back. So, hey, we've got these IOUs from the US that says they'll promise to pay you. They go, China says, hey, look, we're at war with the US. Why would we want a promise that you've had from them to pay back, that you're going to give to us, and we're going to try and have that as money? But we're going to, no way, no. We'll take the port of Melbourne. We'll take the port of Darwin. Oh, sorry, we already have that on a 100-year lease. We don't need to buy it. We just need to have the operational access to it for 100 years. All right. This is the problem, and this is the selling out of countries. Look at these other countries that are fast accumulating gold to make sure that their citizens are not hurt too bad when the US dollar system and the monetary system, the fiat system, has a big reset, which is not too far away. not too far away. Australia, yeah, we're in trouble. So what will happen is we'll have to sell off all our land to settle up our debts, which is pretty bad. And well, I don't think the politicians really care. They know they're not incompetent. That's the get out of jail free card. We're incompetent. Okay, let's talk about it. What are we going to do as investors? What could you do as an investor? One thing you can do is look at the trend. If the largest economies and the largest countries, and will soon be the number one hegemon countries in the world, India and China easily, but look at Singapore, Thailand, yeah, where all the money is flowing to, where all the gold is flowing to. Do you think that you should do that in your household? Should you treat your household as its own reserve bank? Should you treat your household as its own sovereign country? Should you invest accordingly? Should you save accordingly? My answer is yes. And Edge clients know that for years we've been talking about this. And again, I wanted to bring you the trend. If you haven't been doing this and all of a sudden the penny's dropped, it's not too late. I know gold looks expensive now, but in 5 years' time, you'll be looking back going, wow, gold was cheap in 2025. Silver was cheap in 2025. Platinum was cheap in 2025. Gold, silver miners were cheap in 2025. All right? It's not too late, guys. It's not too late to protect yourself with actual bullion like all these other banks and all these other central banks and countries are doing, right? The central banks are buying up all the gold. They're buying up all the gold while they give you the paper folding notes. They're printing more paper folding notes and then buying gold with it, storing the gold, because they know that the paper notes are giving you worthless, right? So if you've got 100 grand in the bank just sitting there and you like looking at it, wow, that's not the strategy that I would condone. So, all right, guys, I just thought this was really good. It was, the trend of where all the gold's been flowing to. And this has been pushing the price of gold up. The trend is not going away. So if these countries keep up at this pace, which I expect they will, other countries will accelerate their pace. You could see a floor under gold and you could see upward pressure on gold too. It will accelerate extra if the more wars that break out, and you'll see gold accelerate. The one thing to watch is gold accelerates early. Gold accelerates before the wars. Gold accelerates before the shots are fired. And the reason is because the insiders know war's coming and they quickly buy the gold. They know. The wars are often caused by trade imbalances and central bank issues. Is kind of when the wars happen. So that's why gold front runs, and that's why we all look at it and make sure we front run with it. All right, guys. Look, I just thought this was interesting to look at. We haven't done anything on gold for a while, and actual issues and the issues of you're not having gold. But where all the gold's flowing to, you can see it's all flowing into Asia, which is going to be the new center of wealth for the world. Unfortunately, Australia's part of Asia, but we're like the poor hillbilly cousins. We're like the white trash of Asia, unfortunately. We've got no money. So anyway, all right, guys, look, this is just a little bit of a heads up, a reminder that, if you've been stacking gold and silver, some people will be poo-pooing you. You know better. You know that the big money is trending that way, and you should do some things that the big money does. If this is news to you, have a chat with me, have a think about it, understand that the world is changing, and the asset classes that worked for the last 15 years will not work for the next 15, or they'll underperform at best. All right, that's enough from me, guys. Remember, life is a family sport. Give yours an edge. See ya.
Dave and Lucy have been in business for a long time. They have a great business and a great team. After years of hard work, they wanted to increase their property portfolio with their dream home. But being self-employed, they found their bank's lending criteria very restrictive. They sought Toowoomba's Edge Lending, the business lending experts. Edge Lending thinks outside the box and were able to secure a facility for Dave and Lucy to purchase the property. Edge Lending, making business lending easier.